If you're looking to increase the protection and front end appearance, then you'll have to check out the RTR skid plate shown here today for your 2018 and newer F-150 at home. Now the RTR option is going to combine a very thick 10 gauge steel plate construction along with the 2-stage satin black powder coat and of course your RTR logo, all for right around the $700 price point. Now install will be a direct bolt-on job reusing your factory mounting locations and hardware. So figure solid 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter and I would say 45 minutes to an hour of your time to get everything in place, as we'll show you later in the video. So right up front guys, the RTR is gonna be a great option for the 18 and newer F-150 owners looking to add an aftermarket skid plate to the factory front bumper. That's something you can't always find out there, and it's really gonna do a great job of balancing both function and form simultaneously. Now the RTR skid plate will first and foremost be a protection or armor piece and will offer a ton of coverage for the vitals underneath the front end, such as your rad and oil pan, just to name a few, along with just adding more coverage, more protection overall. Now on top of that, it certainly helps contribute, I think, to a beefier look for the front end. Now on top of that increase in coverage and tough look, you're also getting a much thicker material overall when compared to the factory skid plates, which is something that's been pointed out in the customer review section actually a couple of times. In fact, one owner in particular mentions the quality of the RTR option here compared to the factory skid plate on his FX4, and noting how the RTR option is noticeably thicker and offers far more coverage. As always guys, don't take my word for it. Feel free to check out the reviews and pictures submitted by American Truck customers back on the site, just to get a better idea of how fellow F-150 owners are really digging the skid plate from RTR. Now one thing I do want to point out here that is unique with the RTR option is that it does require you to remove and ditch that plastic factory air dam just due to how the skid plate actually installs, which I actually think looks pretty cool, to be completely honest. I think it makes for an overall cleaner appearance, and by the way, you are improving your approach angle at the same time. Now the RTR does still maintain the factory tow hooks thanks to those 2 cutouts, of course, right up here. And speaking of cutouts, the cherry on top is going to be the RTR logo here, kind of laser etched into that carbon steel. And guys have actually talked about putting lights behind this that illuminate and really show off that RTR logo at night, which I do think is pretty cool. But getting back to that 10 gauge steel again, guys, this thing is not light. It's pretty heavy duty. In fact, I'd say it's every bit of 50 to 60 pounds, if not more. Getting it out of the box and onto the table was a little bit of a struggle, not gonna lie. But what I'm trying to get at is this thing is certainly going to be up to the task of handling some impacts off-road, taking them without buckling or bending, of course, depending on how fast you're going, right? It's not bulletproof. Everything does have a limit, but it is noticeably thicker than the factory skid plates, including the FX4 stuff. You're also looking at that satin black 2-stage powder coat, which again is gonna help hold up despite being dented, dinged, whatever off-road and caused by any of those minor impacts. Now, one of the best things here about this option is that there is no modification needed outside of removing that air dam, of course. But once that's out of the way, the RTR is simply just gonna bolt into place using existing factory hardware. So that's why the site's just gonna stick to a solid 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, a strong 1 out of 3 wrenches, and call it about 45 minutes to an hour to get everything in place. But give you a better idea of how things will go down on your rig at home, feel free to check out our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown right now.
Tools for this install: an impact, an 8mm socket, a 10mm socket, a 13mm socket, and a 15 shallow and deep socket, as well as a ratchet or electric ratchet. Hey guys, today we have our 2018 F-150. I'm gonna show you how to get your stock splash guard off so we can get our aftermarket skid plate placed on the truck. Show you that right now. Now, in order to get your stock splash shield removed, there's a series of 18 10mm bolts that we need to release the splash shield from the bumper. I'm gonna remove the bumper so we can get a better view of that. You do not need to do that at home, but I'm gonna do that for the purposes of this video. Now, we have our front bumper face down so you can see exactly which bolts I'm talking about. It is the series of 18 of these 10mm nuts along the back side of the bumper. Taking your 10mm socket, remove those nuts. Now in order to access the 10mm bolts that we do need to remove, we do need to get our fog lights out of place first. So taking your 8mm socket, remove your fog light bracket. With a 13mm socket, remove the brace on the outside of the fog light. Once the brace is removed, you can remove your fog light. Now with our fog light removed, back to our 10mm bolts along the backside where that fog light was. And repeat that on the other side. Now with all the nuts on the back side of the bumper removed, you can now remove your factory splash guard. Now with our factory splash shield removed, we're going to loosen up the 2 bolts at the tow hooks, that way we can get our new skid plate in place. Taking your 15mm socket, loosen up the bolts at the tow hooks, do not remove them completely. And do the same on the other side. With your tow hook bolts loosened, wedge your new skid plate in between the frame and the tow hook. Now with your factory hardware, bolt down the back of the skid plate. Our truck has been through the ringer, so we do have aftermarket hardware, but your factory hardware would work the same. Make sure your skid plate is sitting in a desirable position. And then tighten down the back bolts. Now tighten up your tow hook bolts. Do the same on the other side. Now with everything buttoned up, that's going to wrap it up for our review and install of the RTR skid plate in satin black. Thanks for watching, guys, and for more videos just like this, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.